Thank you to Dylan, Hakimian, and the office for hosting us tonight. Thank you to Elevate for sponsoring tonight's food. We have extra food here. If anyone wants, come take. No, we did a good job. We have barbecue left over. Okay. This week's Parashat Vaychi, is the end of the book of Bereshit. The book of Bereshit was the beginning of the creation of the world. We transgressed into Avraham, Yitzchak, Yaakov, and now the 12 sons, the 12 tribes. And next week's Parashat Shemot is the beginning of the Jewish people becoming a family, from a family into a nation. This final parasha is when Yaakov Avinu. The main theme of it is when he blesses his children, and the lineage of the Jewish nation continues. And in the beginning of the parasha, there's an amazing encounter between Yaakov and Yosef. Yosef is the vice number 2 in power in Egypt. Yaakov just came down to Egypt. It's his father. And Yaakov is on his deathbed, and he summons Yosef, and it says, Vayikru b'mei Yisrael lamut. The days of Yisrael, this is the name of Yaakov, the days of Yisrael came near death. Vayikra livno Yosef, and he called his son Yosef, Vayomer lo, and he told him, Imna matzati chen be'enecha, if I find favor in your eyes, Simna yadecha tachat yerechi, put your hand beneath my thigh. That was the way they used to swear. He put his hand underneath his father's thigh. Ve'asita imadi chesed ve'emet, and you shall do for me a truthful act of kindness. Chesed ve'emet. Al na tikbereni be'mitzrayim. Do not bury me in Egypt. Very good. So the question is, why is he asking Yosef? Practically speaking, Yosef was the second in power. If there's any one of his kids that could pull his feet off, it's Yosef. He's the number 2 in power in the whole Egypt. He's the reason Egypt is a powerful country. He financially, through his interpretation of the dream, figured out a scenario for them to be able to amass wealth. He's the second most powerful person in the world. So he asked his son, swear to me that you'll bury me in the land of Israel. But this encounter, there's a lot you can speak about. You can speak about Chesed Shalamet, we spoke about it in the past. You can speak about the importance of burial. But I wanted to focus on something that is very applicable to our lives, and we speak about it often, but it's important to always reiterate. Yosef has an opportunity now to do the mitzvah of Kibud Av Va'em, honoring and respecting his parents, his father and his mother. In this scenario, it's obviously his father. His mother, Rachel, died many years ago in Israel already when she was in childbirth and labor to Binyamin. And we know, especially our community, the emphasis we have on the mitzvah of Kibud Av Va'em. If anyone ever looked at their parents, how they behaved with their parents, meaning our grandparents, you can see that the mitzvah, the Persians say, is mitzvah of kabed. The mitzvah of respecting and honoring our parents is second to none. We'll bend over everything to achieve, whether it's while they're alive or while they're past, saying Kaddish, learning in their merit, teaching in their merit, giving charity in their merit, whatever it is. And we know, and we say this all the time, it's important to clarify, that there's actually 2 elements in the mitzvah of honoring our parents. There's kibud and yirah. Kabed is to honor. Yirah, morah, is to fear. It's also an element of respect, but it stems from fear. And the example is, honoring, kabed, is to make sure all of their necessities are taken care of. If they need help to get dressed, you help them get dressed. If they ask for a cup of water, you bring them a cup of water. If they say, I'm going to the airport, can you pick me up? I need a ride. That's an obligation of Kibud Av Va'em. We have an obligation to go out of our way to do things for their sake. And Yirah, morah, fearing them, is, for example, listening to them, is not to contradict them, is don't sit in his place. If your dad says something, don't yell at them, God forbid. There's respect, there's honoring them, actively doing things for them, and there's fearing, there's morah, there's awe, there's fear that has to do with don't sit in his seat, don't contradict him, and the like.
How do you spell morah?
Mem vav resh aleph. The shorish is yud resh aleph, yirah, like fear. It's a great question. It's not morah like a teacher. That's why it's a good question. Okay? So now that we've explained this, obviously we know what's the reward for the mitzvah of Kibud Av Va'em. The Torah tells us, if we want to respect our parents, Laman yarichun yamecha al ha'adama, so that you shall have long days on this land. The Torah tells us the reward for honoring and respecting our parents is long life. Now there's a discussion in the Gemara, how do you define long life? And the conclusion is in this world and even including in the next world. So when we respect and honor our parents, our portion to come in the next world will also be something very, very desirable. But there's something I want to hone in on, that there's a famous Gemara Masechet Sukkah. The Gemara says something very interesting. It says, Amar Rabbi Shimon ben Yochai, Rashbi said a statement, Yecholani liftor et kol ha'olam kulo min hadin. Me, I, Rabbi Shimon ben Yochai, with the merit of my mitzvot and my Torah knowledge, I have the capability of protecting the entire world from negative judgment. And he continues, and if it were not for the fact that my son Elazar is with me, and if you want to put together my son and myself's honor, zechuyot, we can protect the entire world from creation until their generation from judgment. Yeah.
You mentioned that there's like specifically a reward
Yeah.
for the mitzvah of honoring your
Yes.
parents. Do all mitzvahs have like a specific reward?
Excellent question.
Because why would you specifically mention a reward for that mitzvah?
Very good
Just,
question.
Like, there's rewards in general.
It's an amazing question. I'll try to answer it quickly. We can discuss afterward. There's actually two mitzvot that say the reward for doing them is long life. The mitzvah of kibud avim, respecting, honoring our parents, and the mitzvah of shiluach hakan. So there's a mitzvah that if you want to take an egg, and there's a mother hen or mother bird sitting on top of the chicken, the egg, you have to first shoo away the chicken, and then take the egg, so you don't make the mom suffer when she sees her egg, which will eventually hatch to be a chick, be taken away in front of her eyes. So the whole point of the Gemara, this is, that sounds like the most simple, silly mitzvah we have. It's not hard at all. There's a bird sitting on its nest. I want its egg. Shoo the mom, take the egg, long life. And on the opposite extreme, what?
Does that apply for today?
Of course. I mean, society has changed after the Industrial Revolution. We don't really all have farms in our backyard. But if we have the mitzvah to the opportunity, of course it applies. And on the opposite extreme is respecting, honoring our parents. It's a lifelong battle that energy, time, effort, and maybe we're not even going to be perfect at it. So to answer your question, the Chachamim tell us the reason why these two mitzvot are outlined with long life is to tell us that don't come and pick and choose mitzvot. To answer your question, no, we don't know the reward for all the mitzvot. We do know is that the reward is extremely great, both for this world and the next world, but they're not tangible. We can't quantify them except for these two. And the reason why the Torah outlines these two is to emphasize the lesson of don't go pick. Don't say, okay, I'll do the tefillin, but I'm not going to do the kashrut because the tefillin gets me $1,000 and the kashrut only gets me 10.
But wouldn't that
Hypothetical.
actually say the opposite? Like if they give no specific reward to any mitzvah at all, then you would assume that you wouldn't pick them. But this is making you pick.
The whole point is that they gave the hardest mitzvah and the easiest mitzvah the reward. To show you that all 613 mitzvot, 611, I might not know the reward. 2 of them I do, and in the opposite extremes. To show me that don't come and pick and choose. We have an obligation to do the mitzvot because God said to do them. It's okay as a motivation. Why do I give tzedakah? Because Hashem blessed me when I give maaser, that I should get tenfold. That's okay. It's okay to be motivated. The Gemara says, mitoch shelo lishma ba'al lishma, from doing it for the wrong reason, eventually we'll come to do it for the right reason. It's okay to come to class for the poppers, because eventually you'll come for no poppers. It's okay to go to Canada for the good breakfast, because whenever it's a fast day, it's part of my routine, I'll still go. So it's totally okay to serve Hashem for an ulterior motive, because eventually, once we get ourselves accustomed to the mitzvot, we'll do it for the right reason. So it's an excellent question, but to continue on what we're discussing here, Rabbi Shimon ben Yochai says, in the zechuyot that him and his son have, they would protect the world from all negative judgment from the creation until their generation. Then he throws in a crazy line, V'ilmale Yotam ben Uziyahu imanu, and if we had Yotam, the son of Uziyahu, we would be able, us three, with our merit, would be able to protect the world from any bad punishment from the beginning of creation until the end of time. This Gemara, there's obviously a lesson. I don't know if it should be taken literally, but the lesson is extreme, and it's a huge question. How, if you want to understand this Gemara in simple understanding, let's say when we do a mitzvah, we get a reward. Think of it as a very superficial point scoreboard. You do a mitzvah, score 1 for the home team. You do an avera, unfortunately, score 1 for the away team. Okay, very simple, superficial, second grade level understanding of the mitzvot. That means when I do something wrong, inappropriate, something the Torah doesn't want me to do, I'm creating for myself a debt. I'm creating for myself a liability that I have to either fix by repenting or by doing more mitzvot to cover that liability. That's in essence what the Gemara is implying.
What do you mean do more mitzvot to cover?
If you want to think of it as a scale, as a scale, if I have more averot, if I have 10 averot but 20 mitzvot, the scale is tipped in my favor, so I'll survive.
They cancel each other out.
In theory, again, we're talking about it from a first grade view. There's obviously some mitzvot that are much greater, and some averot that are very severe also. So they're not all equal. But think about it just on a simple 1-to-1 ratio. When you do something wrong, you create yourself a liability, a debt. You do a mitzvah, you create for yourself another point. Good? Now this means that Rabbi Shimon ben Yochai claims that he, with his zechuyot, with his son, and this person named Yotam ben Uziyahu, would be able to protect the entire world from all of our debts. Think about it. How many mistakes have we done in our life? And this Yotam ben Uziyahu would have helped us prevent from that? What's the Gemara saying? First of all, who is this Yotam ben Uziyahu? So to understand what this line means, the Rashi on the Gemara explains, he says, Yotam was the son of Uziyahu. Who is Uziyahu? Uziyahu was a king it was a melech in Yehuda. It was a king of the Yehuda territories. If anyone knows Tanakh, unfortunately there was a time when the Jewish people in Israel got split. There were the 10 tribes in the northern kingdom and Yehuda and Binyamin, the southern kingdom. The Beit HaMikdash was with Yehuda and Binyamin. The northern kingdom also had a king, but they unfortunately went astray. They started worshiping idols, they weren't keeping the Torah, they weren't keeping the mitzvot, and we can speak at length about the history of the Jewish people in Israel. But this Uziyahu was a king in the southern, in the correct, quote unquote, the better of the two territories. But he was also a bit corrupt. He was a king that was corrupt. He decided that I'm going to build an altar, a mizbeach in the Beit HaMikdash. But the kicker was, instead of the Kohanim bringing like sacrifices, he said he as king was going to go bring the korban. Now this is a grave violation. The korbanot were only allowed to be brought by the Kohanim, the priests. Again, this is it's foreign because we don't know what we're even talking about. But in the Beit HaMikdash, in the temple, only the Kohanim were able to bring the general korbanot. He created a system. He made a mizbeach, a new altar, for himself, the king, to do it. So he went one day, he brings the korban, and what happens? At that moment, he gets plagued with tzarat. He got punished and developed this tzarat, leprosy. We famously know it for the punishment when someone speaks Lashon Hara. That's what tzarat is a skin condition. It's a spiritual skin disease that we famously understand it to be when someone spoke Lashon Hara, they were plagued with this disease. He got this disease. It's a spiritual, it's not an actual one. We don't have it anymore in our generation. But it existed in the times of the Torah, in times of the Nevi'im. And when someone spoke Lashon Hara, or there were like 8 other punishments the Gemara talks about, they were struck with this leprosy. It's a skin condition. And part of this, the healing process was quarantine and being isolated from the camp for 7 days, then going to the mikveh. There was a whole process involved.
Like Corona.
Yeah, similar to Corona.
Why doesn't this exist anymore?
Good question. Simple answer is our generation is at a lower level. Hashem removed this spiritual disease away from us. But it's still in the Torah. We read it in the Torah. There's 2 parashas that talk about it in depth. Tezriah and Metzorah. We're going to see it in a few months. Okay? So, he gets this leprosy. He becomes impure. Now he has to go into isolation. What happens? If the king is in isolation, the king is in exile, you need a new king. You need a new ruler. You can't have a country without a king for 7 days. So what happened? Yotam, his son, was appointed to be the new king. And what did Yotam do? But Yotam, although he was the new king, had so much respect for his parents, for his dad, that every time he got a question, he wouldn't give his own rule. He would give the answer, but he would attribute it to his father. He would say, Abba Sheli, my father Uziyahu, said you should do this. And that's it. He had the highest level of respect and honor for his father. So now we have a better understanding to the Gemara. The Rabbi Shimon ben Yochai is saying something fascinating. He's saying, if Uziyahu, Yotam ben Uziyahu, this figure, this king, was in our generation, we would be able to protect the entire world from bad punishment. Why? Because of Yotam's kibud avaim. Because of the level and the amount of respect and honor that he had for his parents, that level of zechuyot would have protected the world forever. This is a fascinating idea, and it's a backwards way to learn it, but the lesson is simple. We don't really comprehend how powerful and how important the mitzvah of kibud avim is. We know, we've heard, we see our parents doing it, but we need to really internalize and understand that while we have the opportunity to, thank God our parents are young and are capable and are with it, we need to constantly be training ourselves in this mitzvah. And actually, Rav Chaim Kanievsky said something very important. He said, what goes around comes around. The way we interact with our parents, God willing, one day, our kids will interact with us as well. So don't worry about it. It's not just reward in the next world. It's also in this world. If we're mindful to always think how they are, again, they're all young and we're still young. But now is when we have to start preparing mentally for that. Seeing our parents, how they behave with their parents, who are seniors, who are retired, checking in on them, don't ever leave them alone. Something so beautiful about our community, I don't know if it's sustainable, but historically our community never really believed in putting the old people to die in an old age home. Even if they would put them in an old age home, it would be local, it would be nearby, that they can visit them, they can be with them. It's a very, very unique thing that we haven't really thought about. The standard American life, they put their kid in an old age home, the parents' retirement fund pays for it, and that's it, we'll see you on Thanksgiving. Our mentality is not that. Sometimes we're forced to, whether it's a medical condition or something that we can't support them at home, but we don't let them rot and pass away, God forbid, on their own. We're with them. Someone, God forbid, if anyone knows someone has a family member in the hospital, what's unique about our family, our community? That person is never alone. It doesn't matter religious, not religious. That person is never alone. Open your eyes. You should never see anyone in your loved ones in the hospital, but pay attention to others. In our community, the sick person in the hospital is never alone. There's someone sitting by him 24/7, and I've been in the hospital and I've heard doctors talk, meaning I'm there, unfortunately, often. I've heard them in the hallway comment to each other, wow, these Jews, they're never going to let their old ones be alone. Like praising us. 10 rooms on the floor, some old person moaning and groaning on himself, no one to take care of him. The 3 that belong to our community, there's someone by him 24/7. These things are not to be belittled. You shouldn't belittle them. We should cherish them. We should highlight them. We should remind ourselves of these values, of the core values that make up what it means to be a part of our community, what it means to be Jewish. And I'll wrap up with this last idea. In this week's parasha, we also have the blessing of Ephraim and Menashe. Part of this whole sequence, Yosef swore to his father, was doing this mitzvah, important mitzvah of honoring his parents. The next part was Yosef brought his 2 sons to get a beracha from their father Yaakov on his deathbed. And we've spoken about this in the past, we'll speak it very quickly. The Torah tells us, Yaakov tells Menashe and Ephraim, Becha yevarech Yisrael lemor. The Jewish people will, or this is how Yisrael, this is how Yaakov blessed you. Yesimecha Elohim Ephraim v'chim Menashe. Hashem should place you like Ephraim and Menashe. Vayasem et Ephraim lifnei Menashe. And he first named Ephraim and then Menashe. Why is it such a crazy thing?
Menashe is older.
Thank you. Menashe was the elder. Menashe was the Bechor. Why did Yaakov flip his hands? Why did Yaakov give Ephraim the better beracha? And why do we, every Friday night, I don't know if how many of you have the custom to it, but one of the big Mashadim Minhagim is every Friday night the father gives his children a bracha. And for the boys, the bracha begins, Yesimecha Elohim ke'Ephraim v'chimnashe. Hashem should make you like Ephraim and Menashe. And then for the women, it's Yesimech Elohim, if you're blessing your daughter. Yesimech Elohim keSarah, Rivka, Rachel veLeah. How come by the girls they're getting blessed for the imahot, our mothers, the 4 matriarchs? But by the boys, our sons, we bless them with Ephraim and Menashe. The blessing for the son should be equal. Yesimech Elohim ke'Avraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. It's a powerful lesson, and we say it every week. And there's a few answers. I've spoken about one in the past. Has to do with they were the first pair of twins who had peace, who didn't fight with each other. But another thing I'm on this line of Kibud Av V'Em, another way you can look at it is when Yosef saw that this is what his father was doing, and he said, "You have to Menashe is the Bechor. What are you doing? Why do you mix it up?" Ephraim should have immediately looked at his father and said, "Dad, what's going on here? Let Grandpa decide. Why are you telling Baba not to give me the Be'er Baracha? Why are you getting involved?" But what did Ephraim actually do? Nothing. Ephraim didn't respond. He didn't protest his father Yosef, who was protesting Yaakov when he gave the bracha. But on the contrary, he's kept quiet and honored his father in that discussion that he was having with Yaakov. And Yaakov, says the Midrash, realized and saw that, wow, if these two brothers get along so well, then number one, he didn't protest. When Menashe didn't protest when I gave Ephraim the better bracha, the younger brother. And number two, when Yosef, their father, was trying to defend the older brother, Ephraim didn't stand up to him. Didn't. Hey, Dad, what are you doing? Let me get the bracha. They're truly deserving of this bracha. Their level of respect for one another and respect for their parents is what every Jewish nation should be. That's why we bless our children to be like Ephraim and Menashe. So we see from the episode of Yosef and his sons, we see something that at first glance you can skip over it. But it's the importance and the emphasis of honoring our parents, respecting our parents, caring for them, kibud and mora, honoring them, giving them something to drink when they ask, and fearing them. Don't sit in their seat. Don't contradict them. Don't talk when they're talking. Don't cut them off. And it's up to us as we mature to make an active effort in this endeavor. Work on ourselves. All of us have different situations at home. All of us have different upbringings. Some of us might think our parents are old-fashioned, they don't understand. But whatever it is, we have to be mindful. We can never raise our voice with them. We can never talk back to them. There's an opinion in the halakha that says you can't even agree with your parents. To that extent, we have to view our parents that much more special with us. I can't agree. Why? Because your parents are like God. Who gives you who allows you to agree with God? That opinion is not halakha, so don't worry. But it's an opinion of the Rishonim. To the extent that you can't agree with them because it's minimizing their honor and respect and kavod. Halakha, we don't hold like that. But the idea is to remind us that our generation, Disney Channel, TikTok, Instagram, is breaking the barrier of parents and children. But we have to hold true to our values, hold true to our Mesorah, to our tradition, our Mesharim Minhagim, and our Jewish identity. That our parents are almost equal to God. We say there's 3 partners in creation of man. Mom, Dad, God. If one partner is lacking, you're not going to have children. If you only have husband and wife, but Hashem doesn't want it, unfortunately, they won't have kids. And it's something that I deal with in my line of business for the community. No one should ever know. So it's a 3-way partnership.
What if you disagree with your dad?
You have to be very respectful.
How do you
in a questioning way? You has to be mindful. Dad, I understand you said this, but one time you taught me otherwise. Or what if I'm in this scenario? You have to always be soft-spoken, always be sensitive, always be mindful. The biggest blessing I have in my life is to work with my dad. But it's also the biggest challenge. I have to always be on my A game, never to lose my cool, never to say something I didn't want to say. We have to be mindful of it. And at home, when we're walking together, when he asks for us, the basic things, can you bring in the water? Who gives you the right to say, wait, well, you sure? Wait, let me do it later? Our mentality is to be short, jump up and do it. It's easier said than done. But part of this lesson of Yosef, Yaakov, and Ephraim and Menashe, Yaakov, Yosef, and Menashe, is highlighting this. It's something that is rarely spoken about in this context, in this week's parasha. But I saw the idea inside, I said it's very applicable. And we need to work on it. Most of you guys are perfect, I'm talking to myself. But it's something that we can focus on, work on, and in the zechut that we're spending time and effort on it, it'll make us better people and give us all of the blessing in the world, and we'll receive the bracha of the you should have long life in this world. Chazak u'baruch.